My sister-in-law pranked me by giving me alcohol, knowing I don't drink. I feel like I'm spiraling about it. I'm 29, female, and I don't drink alcohol. The short answer to the reason for this is that I grew up with two highly abusive alcoholic parents. It took me a lot of self-work and therapy to even be able to be in the same room as people who are drinking. When I meet new people, I just politely turn down drinks by saying something along the lines of, "I don't drink." There has obviously been some instances where people ask me why, but I never go into the traumatic details. I've never had anyone push it on to me or anything, which is what makes what happened last weekend so bizarre. On the second Saturday of every month, my husband, a 30-year-old male, and his sister, a 32-year-old female, throw a cookout or something along those lines for all of their childhood friends. I've always thought it was really cool that they stayed close with so many people, since I myself moved away from home and only stay in contact with one friend from school. I've been attending these hangouts ever since my husband and I started dating. There's never been any issues, I get along well with his friends and his sister. Last Saturday, my husband took my 11-year-old little brother out of town for a dad and son weekend, where he's his legal guardian. I've had custody of him since I was 20, so I went to the cookout alone this time. I've done this multiple times before, and it's always been fine. So, my sister-in-law handed out the usual mimosas. I asked for just orange juice, like always. When I took a sip of the drink she handed me, I immediately spit it out because I could taste the champagne. I turned around to my sister-in-law and said, "Oh, you must have given me your drink by mistake." When I turned, I noticed her and two of her friends laughing. I was so confused I asked what was going on, and my sister-in-law said, through her giggles, "We thought it would be funny to see how you react to alcohol, since we've never seen you drink before. You should have seen your face." I was honestly just so shocked by that, my only response was, "What the hell?" As they continued laughing, I just told them I was leaving. I honestly don't even remember that drive home because I was trying to keep myself from having a panic attack. When I finally got home, I just broke down crying. My husband and brother got home shortly after that, and I couldn't hide how I was feeling, even if I wanted to. My husband immediately asked me what was going on, and I just broke down again. I hate that my brother had to see me cry. I've always tried to keep our house as happy and safe as possible. After I put on a movie for my brother, I explained what happened to my husband. He was so mad, I've never seen him like that before. He told me to go relax with my brother, and he was going to sort everything out. I could hear him yelling at his sister on the phone, and after almost an hour, he came and sat with us and told me we wouldn't be seeing her again. The next day, we told my mother and father-in-law. I've always been really close with them, so I wanted to confide in them, but I was obviously scared because that's their daughter, and I didn't want to talk bad about her to them. To my surprise, they were absolutely mortified and so apologetic on behalf of their daughter. I'm so glad because my little brother adores them. It would have been devastating if our relationship with them suffered because of this. So yeah, this past week has been so weird. I feel weirdly betrayed. I hate that my sister-in-law and her friends used me as some sort of entertainment for the day. I know that they don't know the trauma this triggered inside of me, but I'm just so confused on why they thought that was an okay thing to do. I also feel guilty because I don't want my husband to stop going to the cookouts and lose his time with his friends. I don't want him and his sister to never see each other again because of me. My husband is amazing and has assured me it won't be my fault if they never speak again. It's just hard not to feel that way. Don't worry, though. I've had a lot of emergency therapy sessions this week and I know I'll be okay. It was just such a bizarre thing to experience. It seems like such a small, inconsequential thing to have happened to me, but it's been a crash course on trauma triggers, PTSD, etc. Typing it out has been so helpful. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. Wow, Op, your sister-in-law is a jackass. She really doesn't know what a joke or a prank is. That would be when everybody laughs, and in this case, you were certainly not laughing. Also, as you said, don't feel bad about this. It's not because of you that your husband would stop seeing his sister, it's because of her and what she did to you. On that note, kudos to your husband for standing up for you, putting her in her place, and telling her how things are going to be. The same goes for your in-laws. You have a good support network there. What do you guys think about the situation? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Intrepidkin says, what the hell would make your sister-in-law think this was acceptable? I'm assuming she didn't know why you don't drink. What if you were in recovery or something, and she triggered a relapse? Going no contact with her seems like the right thing to do. I'm sorry you had to go through that, and I'm happy to hear your husband and his parents aren't coddling their daughter. I'm wondering if she has a history of stuff like this, and that's why your in-laws were so immediately apologetic. Fizzly Pixie says, it's no one's business why you don't drink. One of my friends doesn't drink, and we've all stood up for her when people would ask why. She simply doesn't care for it. I myself rarely drink now unless there's an event because I personally can't be bothered and feel like I did enough when I was in my late teens or early 20s. It's so sad and pathetic that this is their attitude, and it's quite immature. Who cares if one doesn't drink? It's not like the earth is going to stop spinning. You do, you don't, give that kind of noise no attention. You have good support around you from people who are actually mature and adults. It's not your fault for the consequences she's receiving. She effed around and found out, boo-hoo for her, learning a lesson on being an a-hole for no reason. Lord Kara says, in my experience, some people tend to get really weird and insistent when you say you don't drink. I get how so many cultures have ingrained social drinking into their framework and all that, but it's incredibly off-putting how many people I've encountered who get genuinely offended that you don't. Hell, you'd think people like this would be appreciated more so they don't do something moronic like attempt to drive after a night of heavy drinking. I'll never understand it. Ellen Nicole says it actually makes me angrier knowing the fact that you were going to be there alone this time. That's when she decided to prank you, almost as if she was waiting for this opportunity. I'm happy you have a solid support system, and they are on your side. Reiterating what others have commented, she doesn't need to know the reason, none of them do. I don't drink often anymore, mostly on social occasions, which are very few. I used to love drinking, but I knew I needed and wanted to stop because I didn't like the feeling anymore. I felt very out of control and realized I needed it to be happier. Also, addiction runs in my family. Never feel bad about this, you're taking care of yourself, and it will never be your fault if no one speaks to your sister-in-law again. That's on her, she made a very poor decision, and now she needs to have consequences. You did nothing wrong. Be extra gentle with yourself for a while and give yourself grace for your responses to this trigger. I hope you're doing better, Art. Well, the community agrees that the sister-in-law is a jerk, and that OP has an awesome husband and a great network in her in-laws. So now, let's move on to the update to see how the story ends. Thank you to everyone that left me kind comments and messages on my previous post. I'll just get right into the update. A lot of you guessed right, this isn't the first time my sister-in-law has done something like this. She is definitely what some would consider a mean girl. My husband and his parents have had multiple falling outs with her over the years, but they've been on good terms recently until she pranked me. Yeah, I could see how my husband's immediate reaction to go no contact seemed like an overreaction, but he's dealt with a lot from her in the past. I don't want to give any specific examples because they're personal to my husband and his family. I hope you all understand. Here's what happened after my last post. After talking with my therapist and my husband, I decided I wanted to message my sister-in-law. I asked her if she wanted to get lunch and talk about what happened. I wanted to explain some of my past to her, my PTSD diagnosis, and why what she did affected me so much. I just wanted this to be over and for us to come to an understanding, but she never responded. A couple of my husband's friends, who were at the cookout when the prank happened, called us to check in on me. They said they had no idea my sister-in-law planned that, and that they never would have let it happen. That's probably why she didn't clue them in on the prank. They told me that after I left, they told her it wasn't cool for a couple of days. I just gave up hope of her messaging me back and decided to start moving on. Then, yesterday, my sister-in-law blew up my husband's phone. She said some pretty awful things. To summarize, it was along the lines of, "It's not my fault your wife is a kitty cat that is scared of champagne." She called me a bunch of names, from everything to useless and see you next Tuesday, etc. She said she never liked me and she wished my husband stayed with his high school girlfriend. They broke up when they were 18, by the way. My husband is 30, lol. The worst thing she said was that my husband was just doing charity by taking in a couple of orphans. If you don't remember, I have custody of my 11-year-old brother, and we don't have any contact with our parents because they're abusive. So, yeah, some pretty awful stuff. I was honestly shocked. I thought we got along fine, we were never best friends or anything, but I had no idea she held this much animosity towards me. Maybe she's just embarrassed and lashing out because her parents and some of her friends berated her for it. I don't know. My husband just sent one message back to her, saying he never wants to see or talk to her again, and then blocked her and her husband's numbers. He told his parents what happened, and they were furious too. I don't know what they said to her, but they're about as done with her as my husband. Since I've been in therapy and have support around me, her words didn't bother me much. I know she obviously has some problems to deal with, and I'm just her latest target. The worst thing she did was bring my brother up. I'll never forgive her for that. He's not an orphan, he has two parents that love him, and I'm not either. I have in-laws that love and support me, they always have my back, even when it comes to their own daughter. If I never see my sister-in-law again, I'd be fine with that. I truly hope one day she'll come to her senses and understand that the way she treats people isn't right. We've decided to turn every second Saturday of the month into Family Day, in place of the cookouts. I'm going to be just fine. I'm already feeling miles better than I did writing my previous post. For everyone calling me dramatic, I'm genuinely glad that you don't have experience with PTSD or triggers. I don't think it's funny to give someone alcohol without their consent, even if you know the person drinks anyway. Again, thank you for all the kind words. Well, OP, like one of the commenters said, she effed around and found out. It's good to hear that you know you're going to be okay. So here's wishing you the best in the future. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. Am I the a-hole for being the only friend or spouse not to show up to help out friends move out of their house? My husband, a 30-year-old male, belongs to a friend group of about 6 guys and their significant others. They were all his high school buddies. I, a 27-year-old female, get along well with all of them, although we're not friends outside of my husband's occasional involvement. The girlfriends or wives will sometimes do something together without the husbands, but it's rare. All of us have kids now. Today, my husband heard that one couple has until tomorrow to be completely moved out of their house, so he showed up to help them move out. We have a 1-year-old who doesn't sit still, and a few months ago, we helped another couple move out. However, I was absolutely useless and in the way because I had to watch our kid and couldn't be moving furniture or anything because of everything around to trip over. Needless to say, I did not go to help couple 1 move today. I'm also 18 weeks pregnant. Well, today all of our other friends showed up, everyone, which is great, and I'm glad they had the help. Until couple 3's wife sent me a snarky text about how everyone showed up except for me, and it says a lot. I told her I'm not very helpful when watching our kid, and she replied that they all had kids there, and it wasn't an issue for anyone else, but good excuse. Everyone else's kids are years older, except for one who is only a month old, so all he does is sleep. I feel like I'm being judged unfairly. Couple 1's husband just tweeted about knowing who your friends are because of who shows up for you in your time of need. I tried to defend myself further to couple three's wife because I'm also pregnant, so I'm not lifting stuff, but she had the excuse that couple four's girlfriend was there and is also pregnant. Like, that's great, but she's 5 weeks along and just found out 2 minutes ago, and also doesn't have a toddler to watch on top of it. Now, I feel like they all hate me, and couple three's wife never responded. I texted couple one's wife apologizing that I couldn't be there hours ago, but she hasn't replied either. Am I the a-hole? No, of course you're not the a-hole. And I don't know what that woman, couple three's wife, is on about. You are 18 weeks pregnant and you have a toddler to watch. You really wouldn't be any help and probably just be in the way. Also, the fact that couple one's wife hasn't responded to you could be that she just hasn't seen her phone because, well, she's been moving her things, so she's kind of busy. I wouldn't read too much into that, just like I wouldn't do for the tweet. Because, well, his friends showed up. You're the wife of a friend. I don't know if you have a huge relationship with couple one's husband, it doesn't seem to be, or I don't get that idea from your post, so don't worry about it. Couple's wife 3 is just being a jerk. I would talk to your husband before you try to do anything else. What do you guys think about this whole situation? Let me know in the comments section. And now, let's check out the community comments to see what they had to say. Worried Penalty says, please tell me you have friends outside of your husband's. I feel like this is a wake-up call. They clearly don't have your best interests at heart and don't feel close to you. A true friend wouldn't even need all the reasons you've been throwing at them. I get feeling disappointed because you thought your relationship was closer than it actually is. Think work friends, but I'd keep my distance without being disrespectful. Not the a-hole. Op responds, I don't consider these people my friends. They've always just been my husband's friends, and we're all polite when we get together. They've honestly had a ton of drama this year that we haven't been a part of, but I know they're all important to my husband. Anti-snoring device says, not the a-hole. What's with the aggressive ganging up? It's a friend circle, not an effing cult. Your husband was there to help and offered time away from his family while you are pregnant and taking care of a toddler. He should support you in telling everyone else back off. Op responds, right, and we had chores and tasks at home today that he didn't do because he was helping them. Instead, he's definitely on my side here, but he's not confrontational, so he's not going to say anything to anyone. I'm sure. Kasparian says, look, this might be an unpopular opinion, but in the event of some kind of emergency situation at that age, you need to be hiring professional movers and not expecting friends to show up and move your house. If people want to do it, obviously, that's great, knock your socks off. Expecting it, demanding it, shaming someone if they don't is simply unacceptable. Op said it, they were not evicted. They sold their house, and the deadline to move out came, and they were behind schedule. Also, lots of people blaming my husband, but no one said a word to him or in front of him about me while he was helping. They also didn't ask him to show up, he did because he wanted to be helpful. The only person who I have initial with is the one wife, and it would be really weird for my husband to text her or something to defend me, so we're on the same page there. He's not the bad guy here. Finally, some people have mentioned, and I agree, that the tweet probably wasn't meant for me. I think I just took it that way at first because I'm hormonal, and I had just read W3's texts. W3 is the only issue, alright. So, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, and they're actually helping her to see things from a different perspective. The only issue here is why from couple number 3. Now, let's move on to the update to see how the story ends. It took a lot of people because the entire house had to be boxed, moved, and cleaned. But again, couple 1 didn't ask for the help, people just heard what was going on and showed up for them because it's what we do, for the most part. We live in a pretty poor area of country folks. No one I know has ever paid for movers in my entire life. But no one expects 11 people to show up. This was definitely a huge turnout. Couple number 1 wife and I talked. I told her what was said by wife 3, and she said no one talked about me at all at their house, and no one was upset about me at all. She would never have expected me to be there. She hadn't heard anything outside of what I told her from wife 3's texts, which she reiterated were uncalled for. Apparently, wife 3 had a miscarriage on the day I announced my pregnancy. So, wife 1 thinks she may just have some resentment towards me. Most of the friend group had heard about the miscarriage and showed up to do nice things or leave flowers for wife 3, but no one told us. I guess because they knew we were expecting, so we didn't know either way. We're just going to leave it. My husband is still not the bad guy, he's not friends with wife 3, doesn't even have her phone number, and he's not going to text her husband to complain about her. He's not going to feed into this anymore. So, wife 3 can just work out her feelings on her own, as it doesn't appear that she's spreading her feelings around to anyone else. Well, OP, it's a good thing that it didn't turn to any more drama. I'm really sorry that wife number 3 had to go through that, of course, but that doesn't excuse her trying to guilt you into anything.